Hello YouTube and welcome to another video. So right now I will play a 15 plus 10 game, which means I have to be a little more into the think tank. And right now I feel a bit shaky because I haven't slept as much as I used to. And that might be a good thing, that might be a bad thing. For those of you who don't know what that feels like, it's like somehow um, your mind just goes somewhere else. But you can also become sharper and more aware of the position. So it can go both ways actually. But it doesn't look like anyone wants to play. That's that's sad actually. I know that most people like to play Blitz and Bullet because they're so addictive and that you can manage to play like a dozen more games than a regular rapid game in the same amount of time. But still, I think if you play longer rated games or longer games in general, but rated games that puts you a little more on the edge. But longer games actually proves to be more helpful for your chess. At least I think so. And I've been too lazy to actually play a lot of these games myself. But that's partly why I do these on video, because I truly believe that if you want to become better, you actually have to work. And what better way to work on chess than to actually play and all think about all the possible options that you have on the board at any given time. But still, there's no one around who wants to play 15 plus 10. This is almost awkward, but we'll manage. We'll manage. Huh. No one indeed. There we go. So we got a game versus Ivatar. I'm gonna go ahead and play d4. Rated 1883. Your game with Ivatar will automatically... yeah, alright. He moved. So knight f6. I'm gonna play c4, I think. I'm considering some obscure moves like knight d2 and then aiming for e4, e5 maybe. But I kind of like these structures for white anyways. And he might go, yeah, okay, so we go with g6. Let's just continue. Probably bishop g7 or c5, maybe even d5, yeah, c5. So now I can play d5, I can play e3, I can play even e4. But what do I want to do in this position? Another option is actually to play bishop e3 and bring this bishop out to g2. So if I play bishop e3, he's going to play bishop g7, of course, and then I'll play g3. Probably d6, bishop g2, and knight c6. So the reasoning for this c5 move is that he wants this knight out on c6 right away, but not wasting any moves on having to block this pawn on c7 first. But if I play bishop e3, he might go bishop g, knight g4, and that's really annoying. So I'm going to go ahead and play e3, blocking this bishop in, of course. But I have these things to consider. So knight f3 is what I'm going to play. And he castles. I'm just going to play bishop e2 here, getting ready to castle myself and also getting a piece into the game. Not that this piece actually right now does much, because it's blocked in by its own pawn on c4, and it doesn't really have any good squares here either. But when he takes, if he takes, I would suggest him to just keep tension in the center there for quite some time. But if he do take, then I can take back with this pawn. Then I might opt for something like c5. That will make the d4 pawn weak, of course, but we'll see how he goes with this. So he takes right away. All right. So I'm going to take back with this pawn because then it opens up for that bishop. Now we'll probably go for d5. This player seems like an attacking style kind of player, and he wants to get initiative. Of course, right now he doesn't have the initiative. He goes for d6. Okay, so I thought he would go for d5, but it might face the c5. I might even take, but then I will get stuck with this isolated d pawn. Okay, d6. So he wants to go with his bishop either to f5 or g4. But I'm just going to castle. I don't see what he's going to do right now. Probably knight c6 and then bishop here, or maybe in another order. Yeah. So bishop f5. That means I can play queen to b3 to attack this pawn, and also getting this diagonal towards the king a little uneasy. But after queen b3, let's say queen c7, he might even go to b6, but then I'll just trade the queens, because I do believe that those double pawns in this particular position is quite good for me. So queen b3, queen c7. He might even play b6, but I think that weakens way too many white squares in his structure. So queen b3, queen c7. Then I might play knight b5 or even bishop f4, just getting at that diagonal myself. But I'm going to play queen b3. And I notice a lot of these players don't actually use up very much time to think. They just do what falls naturally to them. And in most cases in Blitz, that's how you should play. But this is rapid, so I hope that you guys, if you're watching, take your time and just find the best moves that you can play. So if I play bishop to f4, he might go with knight to h5. That kicks away the bishop, of course, but then I can play my bishop back to e3, and then this knight here has lost a tempo, or tempi, because then I get to bring this bishop out for free to e3 actually. So that might be an interesting idea. And then I also get to get my rook into c1, and my other rook is probably going to target the e7 or e6 pawn. It will probably go to e6 later, maybe even e5. So I'm going to do that. I might just have to get something to drink. So just thinking about development, that's what I do at the first moves in a chess game, at least a game like this. Although one game I played, well, several games I played over the board in tournament games. I stopped with the development because I think there is a reason to attack. And if you think that, and you probably um, should attack if you see an attack that might have a potential. Okay, so he goes knight b to d7. So I think I might play rook a to c1 here. Again, I don't see any threats that you can make. You could play knight to b6, of course, threatening this pawn. But I might even push c5. So I'm going to do that. And probably he'll do the same, rook a c8. So he doesn't have a lot of good squares to move his queen to either. And that is good for me because he's a little cramped inside his own fortress there. Of course, I could consider an attack with these pawns, but that will weaken my own kingside pawns. So he goes rook f to c8. Now I believe that this pawn and this pawn might be very weak if I bring my rook to e1. So I don't believe that this actually is a reasonably good move. I think it's better to do this and have this rook keeping a guard up for these two pawns. But okay. So can he play something like e5 later? Then I capture, he captures back, I capture, he captures, and I capture, and he captures. So that that might be an issue. But an easy way to think of that is that I have 1, 2, 3 defenders of that square, and he has 1, 2, 3 attackers. That means that after this, and I take, he takes back, I take, like this. Or did I do something wrong now? Yeah, here, 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 and here. So if there are the same amount, you are gonna lose that. But I can play rook f e1, and if he plays e5, I take, he takes, then I take and he take, then I can play my bishop back to d1 or f1. So that means that this knight will be pinned from my bishop to the queen on c7. Then he might go something like knight h5 in that case. And that doubles the protection of that knight. And also threatens to capture my bishop. But maybe then I have knight to b5. Then he might go to b8 with his queen. Maybe even e7. Maybe e7 is a better square. So maybe then I have to play knight to d5 to stop the queen from coming to e7. And then again, I have 2 attackers on that knight. But what if he plays knight to d7 instead? I don't have f4. I can rule that out. Interesting position. So rook f e1 and e5. That is my main concern after rook e1. What if I just take, he takes back, and I drop my bishop back? He might go for knight h5 anyways. But then I can play this move. And that means that he has to go back here, because he has to guard against this fork, against his king and rook. Yeah, I'm gonna do that. So if I had all the time in the world, or even more time, I would have been more deductive than this, but it looks decent enough. let's see if my opponent plays e5. Maybe he'll play knight h5 first. But then I kind of think that I'll like, as soon as the knight on f6 removes itself from that square, I'm going to play knight to d5. And the queen has to step back to d8. Another reason why the rook on f should guard the e8 pawn. Queen b6, okay. So he wants a trade. He wants to trade, yes. And now if I take on b6, he takes back with his knight. So that's no good. And if he takes my queen, a captures b3, I have quite a strong pawn formation here. Although the b2 pawn will be the weakest link, because after I move this or play something like this, then this b2 pawn might fall quite easily. Can I play something like knight d5, and if it takes, I simply take back. That gives a horrible pawn position here, though. But queen b6. I might even play bishop d1 here, protecting the queen. And if it takes, I'm going to take back with the bishop, of course. And if it then plays knight to b6, I can play c5, d captures c5, d captures c5. The knight has to move somewhere, probably here. No, he can't go there. So maybe go back, and then I can take on e7. And this pawn is not weak at the moment. And it doesn't have this move, or this move, anyways. So I think I'm going to do that. Now, I have half of my opponent's time, but at least I think about a lot of stuff. At least I believe so. And it also takes some time just to commentate on what I'm thinking to you guys. But I think bishop d1 is actually quite a good move. Although the computer probably would say otherwise. But I don't want to take there and give him his freedom for that knight. And I don't want him to doubling up my pawns due to the fact that this pawn will be very weak because of this bishop. In the long run, of course, that might be the problem. So now he's taking a really good thing, and that's a good thing that they actually do take their time. As I've said earlier, I don't play a lot of these rapid games, and I surely would like to play more of them. But every time I do play, it feels like they're just blitzing out their moves like super fast. Like they have more time on the clock when they're done with the game than when they actually started. So he plays e6. That seems good. Both stopping my knight from coming into d5 and also protecting that pawn from my rook here. It might weaken up the d6 square though. So if I take here now and he takes back, then I can take there. Although he can take this pawn. And then this pawn will be very weak. What if I could play something like d5? Then he can play here, of course. Yeah. What if I played something like knight to b5? Threatening to capture that pawn, forcing him to play d5 himself. Or otherwise, with his knight to defend. Or even bishop. So knight b5. Let's say bishop f8. Then I can't take, of course. But I think I'm going to do that. Or is it just a small threat? Can it be met with this d5 move? I think that would be harmful for him, though. I'm going to do that. Let's see how he responds. I'm vouching for either bishop f8 or knight to e4. But if knight e4, I can play knight to g5 myself. Although that will make me have to capture on g5 with my bishop, of course. And also, I could play something like c5 later on. If this knight moves. But that's just a dream. It's not real. It's just a fantasy. Is this a real life? Is this just fantasy? Yes, Bohemian Rhapsody. Okay, so he is actually thinking a lot now. I think that's a good thing. What if he plays d5? I was thinking about playing c5 then myself. But why stop there? Why not play knight d6? Like c5 and then knight d6, just threatening the rook on c8 and capturing the huge bishop on f5, because that bishop is really great for black, and that is actually the only piece right now that is that he got that is really great. Okay, so he plays bishop f8, going into the defensive mode. Can I play something like d5 here? He takes, I take, he takes back, and I take, so that's no good. And if I play here, he goes there. Yeah, I might not do that. I could trade off the bishop though. This bishop. Play to h4. What about c5? Takes, takes, takes. Yeah, no. Knight h4 seems good. Because after that move, he has to play a6. I'm gonna go away, or even I can even take here first. Then he takes on b5. And then I can go back to e3, guarding that c4 pawn. Okay, I'm gonna do that. He might consider bishop g4, but I think this is just good for me, because after these trades later on, I can guard this pawn with my rook or my bishop, and This bishop is no longer on this diagonal as of now. And I think the changes in the structure here has made me more pleasant of enjoying that game, that endgame, after the bishop moved back to f8. The problem is, though, that I'm really low on time. I have less than half of his. So he goes for e5. Wow. So I think I have to take on e5. So he can't really move his bishop if I do that. So I take. He might play something like this. Then I can take it. He takes back. But he loses this pawn. I'm going to take. Let's see how this goes. So he takes back that way. Okay. So I want to take here. And if he takes there, he doubles up his pawn. If he takes here, he also doubles up his pawn. So I believe that this opening up for my rook as well will gain me more than him. Although after this move and here, I don't actually have any good squares for my knight. I mean, I can play here, and he takes, and I take. That might work. But again, I have to be careful about something like knight g4. Threatening this f2 pawn. But is this diagonal that scary, though? I mean, I can even play here first. Then he might play bishop to c5, and then I take, he takes, or even with this knight. Yeah, he can take with this knight. So I'm going to take that. And he has to do something. I think that taking the bishop is better than taking the knight. Also because I can just take here and play my bishop back to g3 later on. Or even to c4. d4, sorry. But we'll see. I think you should take the bishop at least. But then after this this move right here, he has to take, and then well, he doesn't have to take, but then I'll win this if it doesn't. Now I'm also having some plans with this move, maybe. So if I play here, he can take with 3 pieces. He can even take on b5, but after that I have queen captures f7, which will lead to checkmate. So I'm thinking about that move, and I think that that is just really strong. There, what can he actually do to prevent me capturing there or the queen? He can play his queen here, though. I'll take that queen. So I'm going to do that. I don't see a defense for that. I mean, something like knight to d5, and then I could still just take the knight and skip ahead, and don't taking the queen. Yeah, this is just terrible for him. But if he finds a defense that I haven't seen, then that's just terrible for me, of course. But this looks quite game over-ish to me. So this diagonal, as I said in the beginning of the game, might be a crucial factor. Or at least it has a potential to attack. And as I said it in this game, I was proven right. At least I think so. He might find some really good looking move that I haven't seen. But I think queen here is the best. And I take. And he has to kind of take back, because if he takes the knight, then I will keep my rook, but of course lose the knight. But I think that this, because after I take back the pawn with my queen with check, I can gain access to the d6 square, and his position is falling apart, basically. I have to be aware of rook e8 though, so if knight d6, rook here, knight captures rook, rook captures rook, then my queen might be stuck because it can't defend on e1. Okay, so it goes to d5 with his knight. So if I take the knight, then he can go here with his queen. And if I take the queen, he can go here and threaten checkmate. But if he takes on c1, I can still take on d5. So after this move, and he captures here, I can still take there because that still protects that bishop. And I still have the threat going here. So I think I might just do that. This should be winning for white, but I've screwed up before, so anything goes, as they say. So rook captures c1, queen captures d5 is the critical line here. But after queen captures d5, yeah, okay, he can capture there as well. So now I can capture here, and maybe place my knight here, and still keep the threat. So I'm gonna do that. I think I will play here. Yeah, let's do that. So now he has to guard that and his rook, so his rook has to go there. It could go to c1 though, but I think that this is leading to a mate. Yeah, he goes there. Okay. Interesting. So I can play something like bishop f3, just threatening to capture on b7. And this pawn might be really strong. And as of now, he don't have the possibility to play f5 to not, yeah, so he has to play after bishop f3, maybe king to g7, but we'll do that, we'll do this. But after king g7, I can play queen to c3 check and then go here. That also seems good. Yeah, so I have to be concerned about these squares right here because of a back rank mate, let's say here and here. If this bishop and this queen wasn't guarding that d1 square, of course. But still, I think I have the time to actually cope with that later. Right now, there is an attack going, and I shouldn't stop. At least not now, when my opponent is so at the defensive. So I could have taken here, but I like this knight being here to attack this f7 pawn, because as soon as this knight leaves, and that's why I played bishop f3, it's more likely that he doesn't need this protection, so he could have played something else with this rook, for instance. Although any rook move, the rook moves wouldn't do much. Alright, so he wants to get rid of the tension, so to say. So should I take here? He takes back. Yeah, let's do that. And if I take now, he can go here. So he goes there instead. Wow. Okay, so that was a mouse slip. Sorry about the mouse slip, but good game. Sorry. Yeah, okay, he just left, but I wrote to him, sorry dude, only one game, making a video. Check it out later today if you'd like. But yeah, so he just gave up. He mouse slipped. He wanted to capture, but he went for this instead because his mouse was a bit uneven or something. I don't know. But alright. I think this showed the potential of this diagonal at least, and also how much more you can get from having used your time well and thought about the possibilities. And we can go back. We'll go back and see what happened. So I played d4, knight f6, c4, g6, knight c3, and c5. And this is the King's Indian defense with knight c3 here. But what happened is he got a little impatient, I would say, because he was so cramped that, like, after queen b3 and queen c7, I played bishop f4. That's quite reasonable. And after knight b to d7, rook a c1, and I think he should have played his rook here to c8, and I think he should have kept that pawn on e7, because this diagonal got pressured, this diagonal got pressured, and it got way out of hand for him, I think. But let's continue. He played rook f to c8. So the reason for me also saying that he should have played his rook on a to c8 is that this rook doesn't do much on the square that it is on there. Like if you do this move, if you play rook a c8, then this rook has the potential also to do some attacking or defensive moves over at the king's side. And that's why you have two rooks, right? If you move this rook in, this rook doesn't come out. So, yeah. But anyways, he played rook f c8, and that's fine, that's fine. And I played rook f e1, just getting at that pawn. And he played queen b6, and that was a move I didn't consider at all. But if he had played this move, let's see. I take, he takes, and what did I say? I will go back, because I can't really take, because then he takes and I take, and he can take there. Although I have a discovery on his queen from the rook here, this bishop can't really attack anything that isn't already protected on the light square. So that wouldn't do the trick, so I should have gone here probably, Well, that was what I was thinking. And keeping this pin. Um, so queen b6 here was a more logical choice. But then I think I still would have gone for knight to b5. Or maybe even just capturing and played b3. But I think that would be more powerful for him because he got too defensive there with queen b6, just trying to get this knight out, hoping for me to capture that queen. But okay, I'm just going to refresh the page so that we see where we are at. Okay, here we go. So after queen b6, as he played, I think he should have played e5. I played bishop d1. And the reason for that, as I said, is to guard that b3 pawn, because I don't think that this structure with a pawn here on b3, pawn on b2, c4, and d4 is actually good for me. Because of this bishop, and of course this bishop, and the potential knight, and the weakness on c4 if I ever move the b pawn one square forward, is overwhelming. He's going to win at least one or two of those pawns in the in the near future. All right. So bishop d1 and e6 again, too defensive. I still think he should have played something like this. Tried to just get that other rook involved and then aimed again for e5. Maybe even played bishop to f8 here. Although I don't see the point of that. Maybe knight h5 actually would have been a nice little saving move there, because after this I have to play my bishop back here or here. I could place it back here too, but that would put me in a defensive mode. So even if he does that and I do here, go here, then at least e6 doesn't weaken the d6 pawn right away, because then I would have to move my bishop back. But first of all, I would have to kick the knight on h5 away. So it would take more time to actually get some firepower onto d6. But he played e6, and I played knight to b5, just pressurizing that pawn. And I thought he might play bishop f8. I wasn't sure. I thought about this move and even here. That would just, of course, lose the pawn. But, well, it wouldn't actually, would it? I wasn't threatening that pawn. That's something I just realized. He could have gone here, because after I take here, he could have played a6. Then this knight protects this bishop, right? So I would have to move this back, and then he could have taken on d6. That wasn't something that actually came up because we didn't get that far. But I think that if he would have played something like this, I definitely would have seen that. I believe so. But he played bishop f8, and that is I wouldn't say a terrible move to make, but it's so defensive. It's hurting my feelings to see someone being that defensive. I know that there are different playing styles and stuff, but this is just pure defense. There's no attack for black going on at all. And this bishop has potential along this diagonal. And this knight has potential on e4, but he doesn't use it. So I played here, and I didn't calculate what would happen after he played that e5 move. I just thought it was good for me, because I was getting low on time at this point. And knight h4 seemed like a good move and a logical choice, because this bishop doesn't have any squares to go to, right? All these squares are guarded by my pieces. And if he goes here, I can just capture, he captures back, and then I can simply take. No, I can't simply take, but yeah, I don't think that he has anything to show for. I can just kick the knight away and then play bishop back to e3 maybe. Something like that. So yeah, I didn't consider e5 as a potential good move for him, but he did it anyway, and I, at this point, calculated that this would be really nice for me if he captures the bishop, and I think that capturing the bishop is the best move too, because if it doesn't, I have bishop e3, he has to play bishop to c5, and we trade, and I get this queen in, or even into g3 check, and it's kind of a really weak king position for the black king right here. So yeah, I took, he took, and yeah, I saw as soon as he takes and I got my rook here, I have potential against the f7 pawn. That's why and how I saw this c5 move so quick after he played a6 later on. So knight to e7 check. I think he has to take it, but of course this rook to e7 move is really dangerous, so maybe he should have actually gone to g7 here and let me take that. Now for the takebacks, then I would have to do something against bishop to c5, threatening to capture on f2 and coming into my king position. That might have been a better move actually. But he took, and I took back, and of course the discovery of the pawn is a real threat. So c5, and this is a really nice tactic because if it weren't for this knight, this queen could have come into f6, but because of that knight, queen coming here would just result in me capturing and capturing back, and that would have been a terrible position for him. I can just move my knight to d6 after that. No, that's what I said. I can't play my knight to d6. But yeah, still, I think that was kind of bad for him. I think he should have gone for queen e6 rather than knight to d5 at least. So c captures b6, and I actually honestly thought he would take here, because after this move, at least he has some threats going on. So I take here, and then he could slide his rook over, and I would build up pressure, of course. Yeah, probably not better actually. I can also just take the knight, of course, but yeah, okay, so that would not work. So probably best was to capture on e7, as it did. But after this, again, renewing the threat on f7, so that he has to defend again on bishop f3. But I just realized in the middle of him thinking about his next move, but after bishop f3, I don't really threaten to capture there, do I? Like after this move, I realized that if I take and he takes back and I take here, I can show you guys. I take, he takes, I go here. He at least he has rook b8, winning this pawn. So I could have maybe done something like this. That might have been good. Yeah, okay. So if it takes here, I would simply go here. And this knight lacks squares. Yeah, this would have just been awful. Okay, so everything lost there. I'm sorry. But after I took, he mouse-lit and played g5. Unfortunately, but still. Yeah. Okay guys, thank you so much for watching this rapid video. It was really fun playing it, getting to try to establish my inner chess power of the Norwegian Chess Giant fan club. which is mainly me and myself and I. You should actually watch me cheerlead sometime. That is amazing. Anyways, please comment and subscribe on YouTube, and if you're on Twitch, I do streams there regularly, like 3 times a week at least. So please check that out. And if you have a question, just ask away. And if you want to play a game, just search for me on chess.com, Crimson Knight, and then either add me as a friend and write to me as who you are and why you've added me, and then I'll surely accept your request, or just challenge me. I'm open for challenges on chess.com anytime. As long as I'm online, I'm open for challenges. See you guys. Bye.